since Interstate 4 started the Ultimate Project. Now the roads are jammed. Coming into and leaving work, it's just stop and go traffic. Everyone's frustrated, and it's just not fun anymore. That's why I take alternative transportation. Its proven track record of relieving symptoms such as sitting in traffic and road rage leaves me feeling relaxed and ready for the workday. And with Huey Avenue being closed for a full 18 months, it's important that you also consider alternative transportation. It worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you too.
Alternative transportation. Proven fast relief from traffic jams, road closures, and road rage. Not taking alternative transportation could produce side effects that include drowsiness, extreme irritability, increased sweating, bouts of rage, headaches, slurred speech, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, nausea, upset stomach, diarrhea, constipation, body, swelling hands and feet. Ask your doctor if alternative transportation is right for you. Chances are, the answer's yes.
Promoting physical activity is a public health priority for the City of Orlando, and our parks make it easy and affordable for residents to get up and to get moving. So this new fitness facility that we're going to cut the ribbon on today is one of a number of fitness pods that we have opened in various parks, and it brings the number of them to 12. And that's a lot of opportunities to get fit.
And now, another BFF moment.
Best friends forever?
It's Best Foot Forward for pedestrian safety. Did you know you must stop for a pedestrian in a crosswalk and stay stopped until they're in the opposite half of the road or on a raised median? It's the law. Stop for PEDs, or it could cost you $164 and 3 points on your license. It could cost them their life. Join the movement. Put your best foot forward for pedestrian safety. I yield for PEDs. Do you?
Visibility while driving at night can be challenging for drivers, and their failure to see pedestrians is often fatal. In Florida, 75% of pedestrian fatalities occur at night. Many drivers say they never saw the pedestrian. What will it take to see them? Can you see him now? Drivers, look for pedestrians, especially at night. Pedestrians, make sure you are visible. Alert tonight, alive tomorrow. Because safety doesn't happen by accident.
Here at Gilbert McQueen Park to cut the ribbon on this beautiful new playground that looks so fantastic. The kids have already been enjoying it, and today is the last day of Black History Month, so it's an opportunity to remember Gilbert McQueen, for who this park is named for. Private Gilbert Demopoulos McQueen was killed in action in the Korean War on June the 3rd, 1951. He was a member of the 24th Infantry Regiment, 25th Infantry Division of the Army, and this park honors his name and his legacy, and we want to remember what he gave to this community.
Our shared dream is to be a place that celebrates rich history, where learning, laughter, and entertainment come together. A destination where memories and new friends are made. A destination where local flavor and eclectic cuisine meet, and where culture and community connect. Ideas are created and reimagined. We are rising, bigger and bolder. We invite you to discover your urban in downtown Orlando.
Grease fighter here. Oh, look at all that grease inside that pipe. You can keep out of that pipe by keeping the peace and recycling your grease.
I'm very proud because before I started this job right here, I was homeless. I used to sleep under the bridge, and most of the streets that I'm cleaning up now, that's the streets that I used to sleep on. I'm thankful that they gave me opportunity. You know, it's changed my life tremendously. Like I said, I was homeless. You know, now I'm in the process of looking for a house to buy. Through this program, you know, I came over my addiction. Man, I'm so thankful. You know, I thank the staff at Good Source for giving me the opportunity.
Good afternoon and welcome to the June 11th, 2018 meeting of the Orlando City Council. We're going to begin today's proceedings with the invocation offered today by Reverend Kathy Schmitz of the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. She was ordained in 1999 and holds a Master's of Divinity from Andover Newton Theology School. Prior to entering seminary, she worked as a software engineer and holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from Cornell University School of Engineering. How about that? I did not know that. Reverend Kathy and the First Unitarian Church have been an integral part of Orlando's healing during and since the Pulse tragedy, which was, if you can believe it, it's been 2 years now. Within hours of the tragedy, First Unitarian Church opened its doors as to the community, organizing space and offering rooms for counseling service in response to requests from the center. On the night of June 13th, a vigil was held on the Dr. Phillips lawn, and Reverend Kathy led a meditation service before 49 church bells rang overhead. And last week, First Unitarian partnered with the Council on American Islamic Relations with an iftar to celebrate the breaking of the daily Ramadan fast. She currently serves as the Orlando United Assistant Center Advisory Council. The invocation will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Stewart.
Mr. Mayor, commissioners, guests, will you join me in a spirit of prayer and reflection? Let us open our hearts and our minds to that spirit of life and love, that spirit of peace and justice that has been known by many names and worshiped in many ways. We gather today as our Muslim friends and neighbors approach the end of Ramadan, a time for striving to be one's best self, for doing good and being good. I'm inspired by the lessons that tell us that we can always reset, rebalance, and recenter our lives on what matters most. In the midst of our busy lives, may we each, in our own way, find a way to return to our best selves, so that our work for the common good may be inspired by our highest ideals and a deep sense of caring for all in our city beautiful. We give thanks for those who serve our city, those assembled in this room, as well as those in offices and classrooms, those out in the community, out in the streets, and those who at this hour rest, so that when evening falls, they may keep watch over our city. We hold, especially in our hearts, the officer shot last night, and hope for healing and comfort. We gather on the eve of our 2-year remembrances of the terrible tragedy of the Pulse nightclub. We remember the 49 lives lost. We hold in our heart all those who continue to mourn and those who continue to heal from wounds physical, emotional, and spiritual. Our lives in our city have been changed forever in uncountable ways. We are grateful for all those who have committed themselves to ensuring that love wins. Those who are willing to learn and reach out and change, those willing to make mistakes, to apologize, to try yet again. For we know this is how we grow into the city that yet may be. May all our words and actions this day and always be part of creating a stronger, healthier, and more vibrant Central Florida. And let us pause now for a brief silence so that each may add the prayers of their hearts in accordance with their own custom. Spirit of life and love, Spirit of peace and justice, remind us always of the many gifts we have received and lead us, that we may in turn be a blessing to our world. May it be so. Blessed be. Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. Ashe. Shalom. And amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Kathy. That was very appropriate and heartfelt prayer. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's call the meeting to order. Could you call the roll and make a determination of a quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Ings.
Here.
Mayor Dyer.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First order of business is consideration of the minutes. So moved. From the agenda review and city council meetings of May the 29th. Motion by Commissioner Stewart.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and so the motion carries. We have no presentation, so I'm going to move right into the mayor's update. And commissioners and those in attendance, as you know, one of our Orlando police officers was shot last night while responding to a domestic violence call, and he is currently in the hospital with very serious injuries. He came through emergency surgery earlier this morning, so on behalf of our entire Orlando community, I would like to send him our support and prayers, and thank you for doing so during the invocation. We also have other officers who are on the scene responding to an ongoing incident involved with that same domestic violence call, as well as members of the Orlando Fire Department who are on scene. That is still a hostage situation, and we will update you if we have any progress on that during the course of the council. So let's keep all of them in our thoughts and prayers, and also be thankful to all of our first responders who risk their lives every single day to keep us and keep our community safe. As I just mentioned, it's hard to believe that tomorrow marks 2 years since the very darkest day in our city's history. And community to launch the MWBE Hispanic Outreach Campaign to create more awareness about our city's minority and women-owned business certification. The event was held at Sky Builders USA, which is a very successful local Hispanic construction company in the Soto district. Commissioner Ortiz, were you going to talk a little more about that? Not now.
I'll let you.
Okay, I'm going to let you expand on that because I think their story is a pretty remarkable story, but I'm not going to steal your thunder on that. So I'd like to thank Commissioner Ortiz for his leadership and support. So I have a couple other things. Last council meeting, we had a fairly substantial discussion related to sidewalks, and I suggested that we should probably hold a workshop. So I want to announce that we will be having a workshop on sidewalks the first meeting that we are back in City Council chambers. So I think that'll be one of the 2 dates in August. I have one item of note that I want to mention on today's agenda, and that's the amendment to the city's lease agreement with the Orlando Ballet that'll help them move forward. The new facility has been redesigned to allow a new state-of-the-art building and ensure that we have a great gathering space for our community and memorializes the long history of dance, that occurred at the Lock Haven Community Center. I know Commissioner Stewart has partaken in many events there, but partnerships like these really help to move our arts and cultural facilities and forward in Orlando. And again, I want to thank Commissioner Stewart for his involvement. And I think I see a number of people from the ballet out in the audience. Would you guys please stand, Sybil and crew, and be recognized? Okay, and lastly, I'm looking around and thinking we probably have some students in the audience. So if anybody that's a student and is here to observe government in action, if you'd stand up, we'd like to recognize you as well. Thank you for being here. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is a number of items that are acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of our council members an opportunity to comment on items that they would like to on the consent agenda, as well as quickly update you with important things from their individual districts. And we rotate the order that we do that in, and first up today is Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for letting me share a few things. I appreciate y'all letting me sneak in last week and get a chance to share a little bit, so thank you very much. A couple of quick things. Of course, our prayers go out to the injured officer and all those involved over there. It is a constant reminder that the challenges of our first responders have on every single day, and it comes at a most opportune I say time only to remember what happened at the Pulse. Those same responders were there, and it's important for us to remember them. There have been many great plans for wonderful acts of love and kindness planned for Orlando United Day. If you have not come up with an idea, we've got a whole list of other items that are available. Just one of those just may be to be kind to your neighbor. Do something that you wouldn't normally do. You know, we can all work together to make our life here and make a city united. I'm so grateful, Mayor. I saw the work that you did up in the Council of Mayors, I guess, or up in Boston. Thank you so much. I think that sends a signal that the mayors of our country continue to lead the way, and I appreciate taking the lead.
If I can interrupt you, I should have mentioned that. I was in Boston over the weekend for the summer meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and it happened to coincide with Boston's Pride Parade. So we had about probably, I'd say, 150 mayors that marched in the Boston Pride Parade over the weekend, and it was a fabulous event, and they provided us with rainbow sashes that said mayor on it, so everybody could identify the mayors in the parade. So there was a lot of outreach and love and outpouring for Orlando up there as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. Your pictures, photos were just a constant reminder of what we have experienced here and the way cities lead the way. And I appreciate you taking that lead as well. Let me also remind everybody, June is Father's Day, and there are fathers in your life. And some may be biological, some may not. But remember those fathers in your life. They're making a difference. So fathers, you're making a difference in the lives of others. I often think of several people I know that are mentors, and this is a good chance to take an opportunity to remember those mentors in your lives who are acting as a father figure. There are several in mine, and I constantly try to remember them. A couple events coming up. The College Park Main Street is hosting their monthly social networking over at Digress, formerly Kavanaugh's Wines. It's going to be Thursday, June 14th at 5:30. Please plan on coming. Get a chance to find out more about the College Park Main Street. With the summer here for our students, I'm glad to join our Family Parks and Recreation and participate in the world's largest swim lesson on June 21st to raise awareness for the importance of water safety. This summer, all of our 11 community center pools are offering swim lessons for ages birth to adult, and the prices for city residents are very reasonable. So visit cityoforlando.net/recreation for more information to register and make sure that we keep water, we're safe in water. Mayor, thank you for your comments on the Orlando Ballet. I appreciate it. Sybil, thank you for your leadership and the work that y'all are doing over there. And Lori, thank you for the work that you've helped out with. It's going to be a wonderful project. We're thrilled about it. We have spent as much time as the neighborhood needs and continue to work with the neighborhood to make sure that they're participating in this as it moves forward. And I'm thrilled at how the new plans came out and how quickly they're going to move. So I'm honored to support that today, especially in my district, and especially as a commitment to the arts that we continue on that process. So, and that's all I have, Mayor, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to District 4, Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer, and I have a student shadow today. Ainsley is here from Boone High School. Ainsley, you just want to stand up? She's shadowing me today, job shadowing me. Ainsley, thank you. And I'm so impressed with everything that the Boone High School students are doing. They're just remarkable, and thank you for coming today, Ainsley. Really appreciate you being here today. At 6 p.m. tonight, we are honoring them with action. The Pulse survivors and Parkland students are rallying against gun violence here tonight at City Hall at 6 p.m., and I will be joining them proudly. I also want to say I stand with the Orlando Police Department, our officers. They were heroic at the Pulse nightclub and deserve our support. And when I wrote this, I didn't even realize we were going to have to be praying for another officer that was shot in the line of duty. This madness with gun violence has to stop, and we need to support our law enforcement officers in this very difficult time. And Commissioner Ings, I'm probably going to beat you on length today, but I would like to read a statement today. I'd like to make a statement of dissension after my colleagues outvoted me on a sidewalk appeal in my district on May 29th. Every elected official brings their own unique perspective to leadership. When I was in the 2nd grade, one of my friends was killed when he was hit by a car when he was walking to school because there was no sidewalk. As one of the worst cities for pedestrian fatalities, I remember reading the Orlando Sentinel during the first week of school when I was first elected, and reading about another half-dozen children being killed or injured waiting for the school bus. Since we prioritized sidewalk construction, which preceded the Dyer administration, the numbers have decreased significantly. I have been distressed by the watering down of this policy. Our original policy was to construct sidewalks with new construction, as well as substantial improvement, excluding construction due to acts of God. But now we have entertained the pay-away policy, whereby the wealthy can pay into a fund instead. This does not promote sidewalk construction. It also sets up a situation where funds can be misappropriated. There was a statement made that the sidewalk was unnecessary because there was one constructed across the street. I would ask my colleagues to do some reading on how many pedestrians are injured in mid-block crossings. I've done the research. It is significant. Which brings me to another concern. As an elected official who happens to be a woman, I have to be over-prepared to earn the respect of my male colleagues. I do not prepare to make you feel inadequate. I do so because as a professional woman, my ideas and programs are mocked or maligned by male colleagues. Our joke is that we have to do twice the work for half the pay and none of the credit. But it isn't funny. At least here I get pay equity. I feel very disappointed after the actions of my colleagues last week, with the exception of Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Ortiz. There should have been collegial courtesy extended to me as the commissioner of the district. Instead of a simple denial of a sidewalk appeal that had no merit, we now have a sightline hazard as well as a septed concern, along with no sidewalk to connect to the adjoining property. Petty personal differences create bad public policy. When I have differed from my colleagues in the past, it was based upon application of the rules, and that's why we have the rules, so that they are applied fairly. This was arbitrary, unfair, and unnecessary. I hope we can return to some semblance of professionalism and respect. This is not Washington, D.C. This is Orlando, and we are better than this. Thank you.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, good afternoon, and I also would like to send my prayers to the officer that was injured while serving the city. It's heartbreaking, and I also would like for us to cover those children we have not mentioned. So I know our civil servant agents, our firemen, and our police department every day put themselves in the line of danger to make sure that we have a safer city. So with that being said, my prayers are with all those impacted, and also those that are right now on the scene, that we will have a great result, and I'm trusting God in this. Last week I had the pleasure to attend the National League of Cities Women in Municipal Government Summer Conference. And during that conference, we discussed solutions and best practices for the day-to-day work of governing and issues that concern women, Commissioner Sheehan. And also those that are impacted by the opioid epidemic and mental health, trying to put policies in place to assist with those issues. The organization strives to raise awareness on all issues concerning women and encourage women to seek public office. While there, I was able to tour the Tyler Perry Studios, and it was really significant because if we remember the old Fort McPherson's Army base, which consisted of approximately 325 acres, when the Army vacated that premise, something similar happened to the Baldwin Park when the Navy base left. The city of Atlanta purchased that property and sold about 200 acres to Tyler, and he's invested close to $250 million in building that studio out, and hundreds of jobs have came to that area, which is an area similar to, not anymore because of the revitalization in Paramount, but it is a socioeconomic deprived area. But the city now owns, they kept 125 acres, and what they're doing is putting affordable and mixed income and housing there. They're also doing some multi-purpose businesses and bringing, I think, a call center, national call center there. So I was really impressed on how they purchased that Fort McPherson Army base, and now everything, the footprints around it, building up the people while they're building up the social economic status of that particular area. I wish we could find 125,000 acres somewhere to purchase. On Saturday, I hosted a community cleanup day there in the Willows neighborhood to foster a sense of community. I'm very thankful for our recreation department. They came out and hosted a 3-on-3 basketball game. They registered kids there in that area to become summer participants there at the Northwest Center, because we don't have a center there in that area, so we will be picking up students and transporting them in the mornings to the Northwest Center, and also dropping them off there in the evenings. OPD, I like to thank them for their participation. They came out and did some great community service work there. They grilled and just engaged with the community, answered some of the questions they had about safety issues, and also they were able to do some great 21st century policing and getting to know the teenagers and the seniors there in the area. The Horse Patrol came out, and that was a big hit. You saw seniors and kids coming up and engaging with the officers, and more so our officer horses, petting them, and some of the kids, that was their first time up close to a real life horse, and it was just good to see all that participation. Second Harvest partnered with me and gave out about a ton of fresh food, vegetables, non-perishables, meats, and so I'd like to thank them for their partnership on that. That evening, I attended the first Trailblazers Fire Gala, in which they honored the 6 first Black firefighters that was hired in 1968. And they were just so proud. I think 3 of them have passed since then, but the city also was a sponsor. Our CAO, Byron Brooks, was in attendance, and Reginald McGill representing the mayor's office, and Mayor, we thank you, and they thank you for your announcement there, and we understood that you weren't able to attend, but there was a very moving speech where they honored the first Black female firefighter, and she is now residing in Atlanta. And she said when she left Orlando, she was very troubled and tormented by her stint here as a firefighter, but she came in a loving spirit, a spirit of forgiveness of all the things she had to go through. But Mayor, she thanked some of her firefighter sisters and brothers that helped her along the way, but I want to let you know she did a very special thank you to you. I'm sorry, Commissioner Stewart was there in attendance, because she said if it had not been for you, she would not have gotten her pension. And it just make the hairs on your arms stand up. And I think with that olive branch that you did made everything good, and you could just tell that. And I get sensitive just thinking about that, how one kind act can transform a person's life. And with that being said, I have one more. On Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, I also will be hosting a summer food giveaway for the residents there in Paramore Community Center with the partnership of Second Harvest again. And what we want to make sure is that, and this is for anyone, it's just not for District 5, what we wanted to make sure that now that school is out, that our youth in our city that can't afford to have non-perishables and snacks in their cabinets, we would be able to give them supplies and foods. So with that being said, that's all I have for this session in District 5.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to District 6. Commissioner Ings.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to also express my prayers and concerns for the brave Orlando Police Department officer and his family, and the City of Orlando Police Department and the city family. I am very happy to know that he is recovering in the hospital, and that's a great thing, especially as we begin to celebrate Father's Day, and we want Father's Day to be a happy day for all of us throughout the city and the United States. Mayor Dyer, on June 8th, June and I celebrated our wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and it was that day that you walked June down the aisle and gave her away to me, and I want to thank you for that.
Since I have no daughters, well, I've actually done that twice. Kelly Coe and I walked her down the aisle, and then June as well.
Wow,
so
that's
appreciated
really great.
that honor.
Yeah, so that was really good, and it all happened right here at the Orlando City Hall Rotunda. And Mayor Dyer, you also held the very first ever Ramadan iftar dinner here at City Hall in the Rotunda, and that was a very well attended program. I think there were over 90 people that were in attendance, and also Commissioner Ortiz, Commissioner Stewart, and Commissioner Sheehan were on hand to attend that. So we had some great representation from the Orlando City Council. On Saturday, June 2nd, I attended and took part in the pinning ceremony for the 4th annual Veterans Town Hall meeting that was held at the Dr. James R. Smith Center there on Bruton Boulevard. This event was coordinated by the Raffman Club, and the Raffman Club are the retired Air Force, Marines, Army, and Navy. This is a black organization that have really come together to do great things in our community, providing scholarships for a lot of our students, specifically those at Valencia College. They also received some assistance from the Veterans Affairs that also supported this event. And so we were able to pin several different veterans that were there. They also received lots of information and assistance on what to do as veterans and how they can also get support for their spouses as well. Then I attended on that same night, Saturday, June the 2nd, the 100 Black Men's 16th Annual Scholarship Dinner. And this was held at the Rosen Center Hotel on International Drive. Judge Reginald Whitehead is the president of the organization. Ronald Rogers is the founder and president emeritus of the organization. And I believe Reginald McGill and Tim Johnson are also members of this organization. Thank you for your service. There were several students that received thousands of dollars of scholarships, I think about $5,000, including some iPads and other things to work with. And these were students from Jones High School. And I think over the course of several years, they have raised over $100,000 towards these scholarships for these young people. Say again.
Over 1 million. 1.4. Over 1.4
$1.4 million. 100,000 this year, 1.4 million throughout the year. So that's really great. And thank you guys for all that you're doing and helping those students there at Jones High School. The last couple of things that I have is I attended the 3rd Annual Bounce House Festival, and this was held at Grand Avenue Park with Drop D Foundation, Jimmy Williams. Lots of people were on hand, specifically the young people. We ran out of food, so that means that's a good thing, and people really enjoyed themselves. And then also I was at the Man Up and Cook event that was held at Hankins Park, and Samantha Wallace and Christopher Wallace, they were the sponsors of this particular event, and they do have a board, Man Up board. So it was good to be a part of their organization and help them. Lots of good food was there. The Orlando Police Department had some chefs out there that were helping to provide some entertainment and food for the people. So this was a great event. And May 11th, I became a grandfather.
Oh, double congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, May 11th, I had a grandson that was born in Tampa, Florida, 8 pounds and 11 ounces. And this was from my baby daughter, Marissa, and her husband, Iguas. But Marissa, this is her very first baby. So they got married in 2016 in Puerto Rico. And that was a great wedding event there too. So that's all I have, Mayor, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Ings. Commissioner Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in general announcements, last Monday we had an Orlando Speaks event in District 1. I want to thank the mayor and certainly the staff for all the time and effort in organizing that. It was well received by the residents. So on behalf of the District 1 residents, thanks to the team for putting together our version of Orlando Speaks. 2 items on the agenda I want to comment on, both under C5, which are the minutes of the NPB meeting of May 15th. First of all, I need to declare a conflict on zoning issue number 16. I have a business associate involved in that. I'm not involved in that project, but I do have an associate, and that paperwork's been filed. The second thing I want to mention is the proposal to approve an amendment to our special overlay on Conway Road. We adopted that overlay in 2005. It was updated in 2015. We had an issue in the neighborhood. I want to thank Commissioner Sheehan, Commissioner Ortiz. The 3 of us met with the community not once but twice to hear their views. And a result of that, among other things, is this proposal will restrict the hours of food truck operation in a residential community from that cannot operate between midnight and 6 a.m. And again, that's only specific to property in the overlay, not all of the city, just this overlay. So I want to thank them for getting involved and meeting with the community. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to join my colleagues on the prayers towards the officer that got hurt this morning. And I want people to reflect on what this means to us as a community. Where are we heading? What's going on? Are we staying vigilant? Are we staying aware of what's going on in our neighborhoods where there's trouble? Law enforcement is not necessarily the military. They're out there to serve us, to protect us. But they're human beings like our military too, but sometimes people react too harshly, and if we can avoid if we're a neighbor and we detect a member of our community having trouble, we might want to jump in and let somebody know so we can avoid this kind of tragedies. I mean, it's really hard to see a fellow officer. And may I also say that nobody knows the culture of law enforcement but law enforcement. It's a very different culture. A lot of people point a finger at them, they call them all kinds of things. But they don't realize what officers have to go through on a daily basis. You can go from 1 to 10 in no time or de-escalate in the same fashion. But it's a totally different culture. And for you to get to know what they have to go through, get involved with the cities and police academies, go and visit your local law enforcement department, get to talk to these police officers. They're human beings like we are, but they live a different life because they have to be always aware of their surroundings, and they never know what evil is coming to attack them. And this is a prime example of that. So I'm just calling out to our citizens and to our communities to be part of this great family we have, and law enforcement are a great part of that, because those are the ones watching for us when we are asleep, and when we less expect it. Those are the guys putting their lives on the line to make sure that we live the life we live on such a great city, as I usually call it, the epicenter of the world. So once again, our prayers are with this officer and his family. Moving along, Mayor, I thought that thunder should be yours, because this is a baby of yours. Been ever so not only appealing, but also, I'm looking for the right word, always look forward to make our communities, our diverse community, to feel inclusive. And this change in policy is truly helping our Hispanic community, our Latino community, to be part of this greater community in the Central Florida region, especially in Orlando. I hope other communities, other cities mimic what we're doing in the city of Orlando. General Culture, you've done a great job under the leadership of Mayor Dyer. I've been involved with this movement, these changes. For years, we knew that there was something needed to be done. But Mayor, I can thank you enough for taking the lead on this in General Culture. And I know that this is going to mean tons of opportunities for companies out there that have been looking for a chance to participate with government. So thank you so very much. And once again, the thunder goes back to you. The third item I want to talk about is about 13 amendments that will be placed on our ballot in November. When Florida voters go to the polls, they will be faced with a lengthy general election ballot that includes 13 proposed constitutional amendments. The State Constitutional Revision Commission, which meets every 20 years, finished its work in April after approving 8 proposed constitutional amendments for November 6th general elections ballot. Those 8 proposals will join 5 other measures already on the ballot, including 3 approved by the legislature and 2 approved in petitions drives, to bring the total to 13. What I usually find is people don't know what is going on. When I talk to constituents out there, by the time they learn about amendments, constitutional amendments, or any of these items, it's too late. They're in front of the ballot. They have to make a decision. And so many times they don't understand what's going on. So because of that, we're going to start a series of sessions in our district to explain. We're not going to tell you how to vote. We're just going to explain what these 13 amendments are about. If you also want some more information, there's a Florida League of Cities website. Is www.floridaleagueofcities.com. You can find information there. We need to make ourselves aware, and we need to learn about what's going on in Tallahassee, what affects us, because these 13 amendments are going to affect us, and we need to talk about this. There's decisions that have to be made, and as I often say, the power of government do not lie on those representing. power of government lies on our citizens, and we need to get involved. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
And
say again?
You have a motion?
Oh, no, sorry. I was the last one. Make a motion for approval. Thank you, Mayor.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz on the consent agenda, second by Commissioner Stewart. I want to remind everybody that at the agenda review meeting, Commissioner Ings asked that we defer an item from C5, which is the meeting minutes and actions of the Municipal Planning Board, and that item was deferred at the agenda review meeting 2018-10004. So that is not part of the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Congratulations, ballet.
All right.
Anybody that was just here for the consent agenda items and wants to make a hasty exit, now would be your quick opportunity. We don't have any items on the CRA today, so we will move on to the Neighborhood Improvement District. So we'll recess without objection. The City Council meeting convened the Neighborhood Improvement District meeting. One item, which is simply accepting the meeting minutes from the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District of April 11th.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. So the motion carries. We'll adjourn the Neighborhood Improvement District meeting, and we will reconvene the City Council meeting. That brings us to hearings, and the first hearing relates to the provision of charity health care. And on May the 29th, the City Council adopted an initial assessment resolution for the city's imposition of an assessment that will assist in funding charity health care to the uninsured and indigent members of the community. The hospitals that will be subject to this assessment support the assessment. To complete the assessment proceedings and consider adoption of the final assessment resolution, we're required under the city's home rule special assessment ordinance to hold a public hearing. We're going to do that. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the resolution into the record, please?
Hearings number 1, a final assessment resolution of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, authorizing, levying, and imposing a non-ad valorem assessment within the areas of the city limits described herein for the purpose of supporting the provisions of charity health care by the city's hospitals to indigent members of the Central Florida community and the viability of those hospitals as important contributors to the city's economy, finding and determining that certain real property is specially benefited by the increased support for charity care, making certain other findings in relation thereto, establishing the method of assessing and collecting the assessment against the real property, specifying the maximum annual assessment amount and the maximum assessment lien to be levied against the specially benefited real property, confirming the initial assessment resolution, providing for certain other authorizations and delegations of authority in relation thereto, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ings, second by Commissioner Sheehan. I will open this hearing for public comment from anyone that would like to be heard. Do we have any cards, Madam Clerk?
No.
Then I will close the hearing. Discussion or comment among the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and so the motion carries. Our second hearing is a public hearing for the disposition and sale of city property valued in excess of $500,000, as required by Chapter 13, Section 7 of the City Charter. Notice of the hearing appeared in the Orlando Sentinel on June the 5th, 2018, and approved the sale will require a majority vote of all members of the City Council. Title of the property is held in the name of the City of Orlando, but has historically been used as part of the operations of the Orlando Utilities Commission. The proposed purchaser is Orlando Health, Inc., and the property, which consists of approximately 21,675 square feet, is located at 121 West Copeland Drive, a little east of Slide Boulevard. The contract price and fair market value of the property is $833,500. Is there any? Go ahead. We can do the motion first.
Okay, so moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public that would like to be heard on this matter? Okay, we have two requests to speak. First is Lawana Gelzer, followed by Dr. L. Jones.
It's a little problem outside getting in. It was a little difficult. Luana Gelzer, 7674 St. Stephen's Court, Orlando, zip 32835. I'm speaking on 28. It's in reference to the wetlands and the amendment to our growth management plan. What stuck out to me the most about the changes?
You're on the wrong hearing.
What she gave it to you. It was, I put it down which one I was talking about. That's why we were rushing, because we thought we had time.
No, okay, I see you're on the next hearing.
I thank you very much.
I think the folks from Orlando Health were a little nervous.
I didn't hear you, sir.
This was a sale of property to Orlando Health, so they were wondering.
This is hearing second reading. This is hearings and ordinances.
Big on the top, did I not?
All right, that was us.
Okay, the other one's on that as well. Okay, so we're back to discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. Okay, now hearings, ordinances on first reading.
Ordinance 2018-35, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the city's growth management plan, providing the summer 2018 package of GMP amendments pursuant to the expedited state review process, amending the GMP to change the future land use designation from office low intensity to conservation, from office low intensity to public, recreational, institutional, from office low intensity to community activity center, from community activity center to office low intensity, from conservation to public, recreational, institutional, from conservation to office low intensity, from industrial to office low intensity, from industrial to public, recreational, institutional, from conservation to industrial, and from office low intensity to industrial, amending the GMP to change the future land use designation from conservation to urban activity center, amending the GMP to create future land use sub-area policy S.3.5, amending the urban design element policy 8.4.1, amending future land use element objective 5.2, policies 1.1.6, 2.1.6, 5.2.1, and 5.2.2, and create figure LU-2E, amending the GMP to create future land use sub-area policy S.3.6, amending the GMP to create future land use sub-area policies S.5.4, S.6.16, and S.11.6, amending the future land use element policies 2.1.4, 2.2.3, amending the GMP to create future land use element objective 2.5 and policies 2.5.1 and 2.5.2, amending the conservation element policy 1.5, 1.5.5, 1.7.8, figure C-2 Part A and C-2 Part B, amending the recreation and open space element policy 1.1.2, amending the GMP to create housing element objective 2.10, policies 2.10.1, 2.10.2, and 5.1.3, amending the recreation element figures R-1A and R-1B, amending the GMP to create recreational element policies 1.1.19 and 1.1.20, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use maps, providing for suburbility, correction of scrivener's errors, and effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ains, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Madam Clerk, I think I missed part of that. Do you mind reading that again?
We'll play it back for you.
Just kidding. Okay, Luana, this is the one you actually want to testify on. So, is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? And in fact, I have two cards that are directed at this public hearing. So first up is Luana Gelzer, and I won't count the time you used in the last hearing against you. I said I won't count the 10 seconds used in the last hearing against you. I'll give you the full 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Now, Luana Gelzer, breathing, 7674 St. Stephen's Court, Orlando, 32835. When I came across this, what concerned me the most was the changing, the future land use growth management plan, the policy, but what irked me the most was, here we go again with our wetlands, the Wekiwa overlay, and we're making it easy for an industrial park to come in, for whatever you need. But if we're gonna be a city of sustainability, I question this. What is the City of Orlando footprint? what mark will you leave by your lack of leadership or leadership when it comes to the environment and the future of the city of Orlando? See, I've been doing a little research. You're failing. It's cheaper, greed, call it whatever you want to. But why are we so anxious to change so much that is a part of our city? And look at what the effects will be. You'll probably be gone. I'll probably be gone. Hopefully not. But the effects of our community by making these changes. And you say, well, LaWanda, I don't understand. I'm concerned. I'll bring up the wetlands. When they were in Orange County, they couldn't do an industrial park. Next thing we know, they annexed into the city. And the next thing you know, the headwaters to the Wekiva Springs, all the trees, all everything. We've done everything to fight to save what is important to our community too. So now we're going to give them an open plan now for the rest of the land to do whatever we need them to do. And I hope you guys will look at what's going on. We're saying it's not just you that is affected. We got to stop being so greedy and look at what's important to everybody and the future of the city of Orlando. And so our environmental imprint, a footprint, like I said earlier, based on your past behavior, based on how you constantly change future land use, growth management plans, say we're sustainable, private meetings with whoever you want to have meetings with, being told that we don't have to worry about environmental issues in the urban community. The world is looking. And when I came up here and talked about I needed a health disparity study in Paramore, I said part 2 and part 3 of the Huffington Post story was coming. We've watched and we're not happy. We need to understand it's not just for our friends who make contributions to us, it's for everybody. You are supposed to lead by example. And right now, based on changing some of these, you make it so much easier for the developers to come in and destroy our community with ease. You can tear down trees. You have it. Wetlands. We need it. I'm looking at you, Commissioner Gray. Wetlands. Lake Nona. We need it.
Direct it to the chair.
I'm looking at him. But the wetlands are very important to our community, to the state, but to everybody. So let's not keep thinking about the 1%, and let's think about the 99% and how you're supposed to lead. And if you're saying you're sustainable, take a hard look at what you're doing to the communities that make it so easy for that 1% and the developers that come in and do whatever they want in communities, especially the urban communities, poor communities, communities of color. Don't let your footprint from this day forward be a failing grade continue. Make a change. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Dr. L. Jones.
Good afternoon, City Council, Mayor. I'm speaking on this.
I just need your name and address before we get started.
Dr. L. Jones, 51 East Jefferson Street. I'm speaking on this on behalf of myself and also with Save the Wekiva Headwaters, Save the Wekiva River and Headwaters, Inc. These particular lands, these 40 acres that you all are looking to rezone, currently they are zoned as conservation, and I know that they were zoned that way for a reason. I don't know if you all know this. You should, because your environmental people should have let you all know, but all of the Wekiva lands, the ones that are in the Wekiva study area, all of them are zoned as vulnerable or most vulnerable according to a state study looking at how water that recharges the Wekiva River flows back into the aquifer. And so the destruction that was already done before you all, while you all were young, back in the 50s, should never have taken place because it has detrimentally impacted the Wekiva River. These wetlands are part of the Little Wekiva River Basin. According to a study that you all commissioned several years ago, the Little Wekiva River is the most important tributary to the Wekiva River because of the fact that it determines the water quality, water quantity of the Wekiva River. And so, having been here before when we were trying to educate you all about the importance of not destroying Little Wekiva River headwaters over in the Mercy Drive area, it kind of surprises me that you're choosing to destroy more Wekiva River wetlands because, again, this state is not geologically designed for the number of people that we currently have. And you can look at the history of what's happened in other states where they've depleted their aquifer. Scientists have already said, and I'm hoping yours have told you, we are already depleting our aquifer. We're not receiving enough rain to replenish what we're using. And so in destroying these particular wetlands, which is what's going to happen if you zone this as anything other than leaving it as conservation, you're going to be causing irreparable harm to the Wekiva River, to the Wekiva Springs, and to the Floridan Aquifer and the aquifer that feeds Wekiva Springs. Now, as before, I see some of you either not paying attention or just looking at me and kind of seemingly humoring me, and that's okay. But at least you know. In addition to that, the basin that this falls in, the Little Wekiva River Basin, everybody else every other county who has land in this basin is doing something to conserve it, to help improve it. City of Orlando is the only one who isn't. When it was in Orange County, they were, which is why it's designated as conservation. I don't understand why you all would be, I guess, in my opinion, short-sighted in terms of doing something opposite than what all the other counties and agencies are trying to do when it comes to the Wekiva River Basin and the Wekiva Study Area and the Little Wekiva River Basin. So in addition to the environmental aspect, again, I know with Greenworks, you all are talking about, even in this amendment that's coming up later, you're talking about the importance of trees. When you all allowed Princeton Oaks to destroy 60 acres of the Little Wekiva River headwaters, they destroyed over 2,000 trees. These 40 acres, I'm certain it's close to that, and some of those trees are over 100 years old. If you know anything about the area, it once was a cypress slough, and you can still see cypress trees that are still there from hundreds of years ago. So what we're talking about here is not just a piece of woods, a piece of land that doesn't have a purpose. It has a very significant purpose to the Wekiva River Basin, to the Little Wekiva River, to the replenishment of our aquifer, and in addition, it's helping to protect the people who live around it, not just my community, because I know that's not a concern to some people, but also to the College Park community. I know some people who live in College Park, I don't know if they recognize the fact that when you build something on these wetlands, you have to dewater the ground, which means that is going to increase the possibility of sinkholes in the College Park area, in the Mercy Drive area, and the areas around it. Don't know if that's been considered, but anybody who knows anything about environmental engineering would know that. So that's something else to consider. Finally, the trees are helping to protect everybody who lives in the area from the increase in traffic that's going to occur because of the fact that you all decided to widen John Young Parkway, which means more truck traffic, which means more carcinogen-causing air pollutants that will be exposing Mercy Drive and College Park people to those pollutants. So, on behalf of not only myself, the people in Mercy Drive, even the people in College Park, what little is left of the Little Wekiva River headwaters, this land, the land that you want to put a tennis center on, the remaining land over on W.D. Judge, on both sides of W.D. Judge, that are contributing to, helping to replenish our aquifer. We don't have anything left. Orlando's developed so many wetlands. These particular, I'm wrapping. These particular wetlands are the only thing left for us to kind of try to keep Florida what Florida has been. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. And just want council and those in the general public know that I am very concerned, and mostly what they're referring to is item C7, which is in District 5, and it is the contractor's business park. And I do care about sustainability. And I think if you all remember, This subject project was recommended by approval by the MPB board back in February. And what I had staff do is, if Dean can start moving forward and he can inform everyone what we did, we met with the developers and kind of condensed what they wanted on that proposed project as far as excessive removal of conservation area, the lack of pedestrian access to that site, the scale of the proposed buildings and parking areas, and the types and sizes of the use of permitted in that site. And what I do, that area is fragile, as it was stated by, I think, Ms. Skelzer and Dr. Jones, but it's also fragile when there's no economic development there, where we're trying to put some affordable housing, but people need jobs, and with that comes the economic development of that area. For 40, 50 years, there's been no development in that area, so there has been no growth of the people, of the community, and I am in support of this project and of the rezoning of that area, because unfortunately with growth does come removal of some trees and things of that nature. But I want to make sure that Dean can explain properly from a zoning perspective the things that we did to make sure that we were being responsible.
Dean, can you respond to Commissioner Hill's request?
Absolutely, Mayor. I think there's some confusion as to which item we're talking about right now. There are two items on the agenda today. One, the amendment to the growth management plan. I just want to correct for the record that the amendments to the growth management plan are actually fairly extensive as it relates to conservation. And we're looking to amend the conservation element to require that there be a full environmental impact statement if you're proposing to change any area that's conservation. We're looking to retain trees. It's not just wetlands anymore. We're looking at retaining canopy and important heritage trees on sites. So the growth management plan goes a long way towards addressing a lot of the concerns that were raised when we had the conversations about contractors' business parks. So the two issues are quite related, but they're two different items. So we're asking the council today to address amendments to the growth management plan to address conservation generally, including even protection of the Wekiva wetland areas, requiring that there be 20% set aside for open space. And that's for all development, not just for commercial development. But as it relates to what Commissioner Hill has asked about with regard to contractors' business park, we did require that there be several things done to address concerns raised by herself, and that is the excessive removal of conservation areas. We were able to reduce that conservation area loss substantially. We gained pedestrian access to the site, which was not there before. It will also allow for pedestrian access ultimately to the packing district site and to the park across the way. The scale of the proposed buildings have been reduced in size, and parking areas are mitigated. And last but not least, we're limiting the types and sizes of uses permitted on the site to ensure that they're neighborhood compatible and appropriate for the area as an environmentally sensitive neighborhood.
And all that came about from the growth management piece came about from
Correct.
That C7 piece.
Right, right.
Okay, thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
Further discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Okay, hearings ordinances, second reading, number 1, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2018-31, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 22 of the Code of the City of Orlando entitled Reimbursement of Travel Expenses by amending Section 2.162 to modify the purpose and authorization, amending Section 2.163 to modify the method of operation, amending Section 2.164 to modify the per diem rates for meals and tips, amending Section 2.165 to modify reimbursement of transportation expenses, amending Section 2.166 to modify advances in use of city credit card, amending Section 2.167 to amend reimbursement for incidental and miscellaneous travel expenses, providing for severability and effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify relating to this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2018-28, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending and restating the planned development zoning ordinance of certain property generally located north and south of Leaf Vista Boulevard and east and west of the Central Florida Greenway, commonly known as the Beltway Commerce Center and comprised of 514 acres more or less, providing conditions of the planned development zoning district, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and permit disclaimer and effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify relating to this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And number 3.
Ordinance 2018-32, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the code of the City of Orlando, Florida relating to communication facilities, amending regulations for wireless communication facilities to conform to Florida statutes, amending Chapter 66 definitions, providing for conflicts, providing for codification in the code of the City of Orlando, providing correction of scrivener's errors, providing severability, and providing an effective date.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and so the motion carries. And that'll conclude the official business of the Orlando City Council for today. Do we have any general appearance requests?
Yes.